Hello and welcome to some of the bonus content for the Ravnica Allegiance pre-release. We had a great time at the pre-release, and we're here to talk about some of it. I'm Graham, and Adam is here with me.
Hi.
And as are two of our very special guests, Erin Campbell.
Hi.
From Magic Mics, and Marshall Sutcliffe.
Hey.
From Limited Resources and Magic Coverage. And yeah, we're just going to talk a bit about how the day went and our decks. I don't know if anyone in particular wants to kick it off. But let's go down the line. Erin, what were you playing?
So I opened Rakdos. Rakdos was the guild that I chose, and I ended up going in more of a Mardu direction. I ended up going in an Aristocrats direction because Kathleen, who also opened Rakdos, we had very similar concerns. We had decks that were fine. Like we had a bunch of 1/1s, a bunch of 2/1s, and we just kind of realized that we were going to run into that problem of we were just going to have roadblocks. You're going to get outclassed by bigger creatures, and that would make us feel sad. So Kathleen and I were very cognizant of the fact that we needed a different plan A or just a plan B altogether. And so I started off with this deck, it's fine. And Serge, actually, I had to give Serge credit, had kind of looked at my deck a little bit. And he said the cutest thing to me. He looks at my deck and he goes, "Go with me on a journey."
That's so Serge.
And I'd never met Serge before, so I don't know what this means. So I was just like, okay. So I just kind of braced myself a little bit. And he starts moving some cards around and he goes, "What do you think?" And I was like, "I don't hate it." I was like, "But it looks really risky." And he goes, "It's very risky." And I was like, "Well, let's get some second opinions." I remember calling Shivam over and I'm like, "Shivam, what do you think?" And he takes a second and he's like, I get it. You should play it. It's fine." And I'm like, "All right, cool." I call Adam over. I don't even need to say a word. Like Adam walks up. I get ready to start my spiel of like, and Adam's like, "I'm in." And I'm like,
that sounds like Adam. Yeah.
I was like, I haven't even like, he's like, "No." He's like, "I see it, I get it, you need to do it." And so it was unanimous that I play this really spicy deck. And it actually worked. I mean, I had a really smooth engine going, which is what I wanted. I wanted to have a mid-game or long-game option if people were gumming up the board. There's my all-star right there.
So you were splashing white for the Hero
of Precinct 1, which was an amazing card. I had about 8 or 9 multicolored cards, which was enough. And then I had fodder for my Fireblade Artist. There we go. So if you gum up the board, which the Simic decks or the Orzhov decks were known to do, you just sort of go over their head and you just start burning them at the dome and just having the steady engine of tokens going. And if the Fireblade Artist happens to get dealt with, I also had the Priest of the Forgotten Gods. Which was another sack engine that also doubled as removal and also could help trigger spectacles. So, you know, I had a nice engine going. I had contingency plans. If the first sack outlet didn't work, I had this other one. I had some really wild plays of just the constant stream of tokens. And it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed trying to find ways to get spectacle. Wow. There was a play where Marshall was my table friend and I had no hand, had gotten spectacle, made what some people would consider to be a bad attack, but being able to do the Rixmati Reveler and being like, "I'm going to discard my hand and draw 3. Oh, wait, I have no hand." It was a very sweet play. And then I drew into the Juggler, I think it was, the 2 and a black that lets you also draw a card. And so I ended up drawing 4 cards and leaving with 2 creatures, and that was a pretty stellar turn.
That was an insane turn.
Good.
So
I was the table friend, and Erin's like, "Okay, attack with these 3 things. There's 2 blockers." And they're like, "Block?" Was it Cam?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Cam's like, "I block your 2 things," and you're like, "Okay," and I'm like, "Oh, that was pretty aggressive." And then you're like, "Huh," and you have like a full hand. I'm like, "All right, well, I guess that worked
And
out."
I'm not an aggro player. Like everybody who knows me knows I like really broken combo decks. And so this is a deck that I would normally never touch, but I had so much fun. Like I loved the flavor of the Rakdos. I loved finding neat ways to get spectacle going. I loved the benefit of getting spectacle. That felt really, really good. I loved my deck. And I would play this again in a heartbeat.
That's terrific. Because you originally were not even sure that you were going to go with Rakdos, right?
Yeah, I was going to do Orzhov initially, and then I didn't like some of the things that were happening in the storyline where I was like, not really crazy about that. But I loved what they were doing with the Rakdos, and then the minute I opened the box, I was like, I love everything happening here. And it was just a great engine, did some really broken things, and outside of my comfort zone, which was nice.
I'm excited that I'm like a little sad that some of those sack outlets are rare, but I'm excited that it looks like you can build an Aristocrats deck because there's a 4 mana. It's Vampire something. I don't actually recall the name of the card because I don't think it was in your deck, but it's a 2/3 Falkenrath Noble essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vindictive Vampire.
Yeah.
And so it's whenever a creature you control dies, it drains your opponent for 1.
Isn't there the 2-drop? That's like uncommon.
My Fireblade Artist are
the Fireblade.
yeah.
No, I mean the Orzhov one. There's a white and a black. Pay 1, sack a creature.
It gets
indestructible.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
That was our
Okay.
preview card for LR, actually.
But the hero was the
So
all-star.
Mardu Aristocrats, totally viable and limited is what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, Erin, if it makes any difference, Erin, you made me want to pick Rakdos at my pre-release.
See?
So. I
Yeah.
was like, it looks sweet. I was like, I want to spectacle some things out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
wanna
I really
select some
enjoyed it.
creatures for value.
So for me, I went with the Orzhov,
Yeah.
the Church of Deals, and because I loved Extort because
I did
I mean
too.
you just heard me talk about aristocrats, right? They're like doing ping 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 little like drain, and I liked Extort for that as well. And obviously that's not the mechanic this time, but I was like, I'll see what Orzhov has going on because I also like white black tokens. I have a commander deck with the old Teysa as the commander, the 3-mana Teysa, and which is getting an upgrade. Let me tell you, that deck is that deck's got some tweaks after this set comes out. But the most impactful play was just playing my promo foil, which was I was confused. I kept confusing the name with because there's the Angelic Exaltation.
Yeah.
But yours is the big enchantment, right?
Which I had
did
and didn't
work.
run. Because Cam was running Angelic Exaltation in his Orzhov deck.
Very good card.
Is it Ethereal Absolution?
Yeah,
Is
that's
that the
what you
name of
had.
it? Okay, that's the one. Yeah, which is, there we go.
What an absurd card.
4 white black enchantment. All of my creatures get +1/+1. All of your creatures get -1/-1. And then you can pay 4 mana, exile a creature from the opponent's graveyard, and then you get a spirit, which is a 2/2.
That card is dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's messed
This
up.
was actually the card that made me not want to play Orzhov because I didn't like the story moment, and I was like,
You didn't like that Kaya and Teysa were letting
yeah,
all the
it
ghosts
seemed like they were going in the direction of a kinder, gentler Orzhov, which was like, that's not what I'm here for.
Yeah, I'm curious to see sort of where that goes.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I wouldn't describe Kaya as kinder and gentler, because she did, and correct me if I'm wrong, I guess you've looked into this more than I have, she did kill the
Ghost Council is
Obs of
gone,
that,
and then
yeah.
after she did that, she, as sort of an additional kind of, salt in the wound, she released all the ghosts and was like, haha.
So is she in charge of the
Oh yeah,
Orzhov now?
yeah,
or is
and you'll
Teysa?
notice Teysa's face. She's not really okay with it, but she doesn't
No.
really have a choice. And so
Right.
Kaya's very proud of everything she's done. She's freeing the dead, and it's like, oh no.
I spent for the entire time leading up to this, and when Kaya got spoiled, I was like, isn't she the one that killed the Ghost Council? And everyone's like, no, she killed Brago. And I was like, I'm pretty sure she killed the Ghost Council. And then the Kaya's
Yeah,
Wrath got
Kaya
released.
was-
I was like, I was right.
Yeah,
she
Kaya
did
was
kill
a-
the Ghost Council.
Did we know about that in advance of
No,
this?
No, but Kaya-
I was like, I'm pretty sure she killed the Ghost
So
Council.
Kaya was a really popular character after Conspiracy, and people were very hungry for ways to get her back, and that was the most obvious thing. So a lot of the
Yeah.
Vorthoses were really thinking about it, and they were like, if you're going to bring Kaya back, it's got to be for the Obstinate. And so it had been a fan theory for a while, and then obviously somebody upstairs was listening, and then made it happen.
I mean, her name was Kaya Ghost Assassin.
Yeah,
so
it's like,
do we have any famous ghosts? any notable ghosts? Oh wait.
oh wait, we do.
Yeah.
So I think that said, I think the line of play I'm most proud of is when Shivam's Simic deck was popping off. It was just getting unreal, and he attacked with a whole bunch of flyers that I didn't really have any good answer to. He had tapped down my Spire Monitor, I believe it was, and I had a couple spirits, but I didn't really have anything good to block with. And he made his there's a 4/2 that you can jump for 3 and a blue,
Yeah.
which he was getting to do for only 2 mana because he had the Biomancer's Familiar.
So good.
So he was attacking with a bunch of flyers, and I was able to use Justicier's Portal, which I actually think is going to be pretty all right. It's not like, I wouldn't call it astounding, but it certainly worked out well for me here. It's you blink a creature you control, and when it comes back, it gains first strike. So, you can use it to save your stuff from removal or whatever you normally use a blink for. But in this case, what I did is I blinked my, I want to say it's called Spire Monitor. We all just learned most of these cards yesterday.
I don't think it's Spire Monitor.
No, it's not Spire Monitor.
Monitor
Our
is
monitor's a
old card.
3/3 flash for 4 and a blue.
Spirit of the Spires.
No, it wasn't Spirit of the Spires. It was a 2/1 black flyer.
Oh yeah,
Spire
Mangler.
Mangler.
There we go.
Hence my confusion. It's a weird insect thing. So I blinked my Spire Mangler. So it came back with first strike and could get in front of the 4/2 flyer and just eat it. And then also give +2/+0 to another flyer. So one of the spirits, allowing it to trade for Shivam's 3/3 flyer, which did not save me that game. but it felt good.
Yeah,
sweet
that's
play.
a sweet play.
Yeah, I did not win that game, but I was like, aha, okay, cool. But yeah, his Civic deck was exploding at that point, so that was all right. Adam, what did you rock up with?
I picked Gruul.
Ah,
I'm a Simic player at heart.
and yet you didn't go Simic.
No, we need a representation, which was fine. Like I'm fine with Gruul. Like Gruul, like as a guild, is always entertaining. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody. But I got pretty lucky. I opened 2 Gruul Spellbreakers. There it is.
Wow.
There she is, right there. I had 2 of those things.
Those were in your packs, right?
Yeah,
not
like-
even in the promo.
One of them was a promo.
one of them was in the promo
One was a
pack and one of them
promo,
was-
and then
okay.
I opened the first pack. I opened had another one. I was like, oh, okay,
We're doing it.
cool. I guess we're doing it.
That card's nasty.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It turns out that a 4/4 trample for 3 mana is good and limited. I don't know who made the rules,
Shocking.
but
That randomly
and
also.
like the hexproof stuff is like fine. It makes things kind of awkward for some opponents. I'm sure some decks will be like, oh no. It's like all I've got is like I want to like instant speed removal, or like it makes things difficult for like the Azureus deck, I think, a little bit.
Definitely.
Well, I mean, on another axis, doesn't it also not to distract from what you were saying, but doesn't it also, at a certain point, the Azureus is like, oh, I guess to kill that I have to use my instant on my turn,
Addendum.
which is fine because I have instants that want me to use them on my turn.
Yeah,
Also,
that's true.
Dovin's Acuity.
Yeah.
Right. But still,
Dovin's a key.
yeah, the Spellbreaker was just backbreaking.
Yeah, and then I had 2. Actually, I was really impressed with the Clamor Shaman. Clam or Shaman.
Take your
card's
pick.
absurd.
Yeah, I was like looking when I was putting in my deck. I was like, it's sealed, and I'm a little worried that it would just
Instead of 1/1,
it would make their best creature not be able to block, which is good, but then just immediately die, right? And I was able to set up situations where it was just very hard for my opponent to block.
Did you
Like,
find yourself normally choosing Clam or Shaman?
I usually pick Clam. No, Shaman. I usually pick Riot.
That's going to be correct.
Clam
most
is
of the time.
Clam is haste.
You don't,
Yes.
want, you don't want Clam.
Yeah. No.
because they're so fast. They really zip through the
they have
waters.
They have propulsion.
Yeah, no, bivalves are real
Yeah.
quick. That was,
Underwater
That was actually
only.
my favorite. I'm not saying this was your best play, but one of my favorite moments was that you were like, "Well, the Clam is the haste one because I have now backed myself into a corner where I need to defend why a Clam has haste."
Yeah, it was a bad
Yeah.
look.
It was really funny.
That card was really good.
Yeah, you got me with this thing because you were just like, play this, give it haste. I only had 1 blocker, so you were like, give it haste, attack, and the next turn you were just like, cool. Remove your second blocker, attack with the same 3 creatures again, make your 1 blocker not block, and I'm like,
I'm not like I don't consider myself an aggressive player, but I love cards that make combat a nightmare for my opponent.
I agree.
Like it's fun. Like to me, it's just like it's that part of the game where it's like you have to answer this, and it's like I like very assertive card. I guess assertive is the word I'm looking for, and this card is definitely assertive. Like it's just like I want to do something, and that's reduce your life total, and I'm gonna make combat an absolute nightmare for you.
And I think kudos to Wizards for making, I think it says something about a set when it makes people who wouldn't normally play a style of deck want to do that. Like when you take 2 people who don't have normally any interest in aggro decks, and even Kathleen said that that's not normally her jam either, but we wanted to do this. So I think it says something about how well a set is designed or how well a guild is designed when you want to go outside your comfort zone to do that thing, and then you're glad that you did.
Also, an all-star was Electro Dominance.
I was going to ask about that.
That card
Is it really
good.
sweet?
Yeah.
Ral's expertise.
Well, I mean, a lot of the time it was a 5 mana kill a 3/3, and then I played a
Play a
Clamor
3/3.
Shaman. Or play a
You're just stunting at that point.
yeah, but it's just like
ridiculous.
yeah, right. Like there was a play against Graham where it was like the same thing. The thing happened where it was like I think that was a play where it was, you had a 3/3 and a 2/2, and I played Electro Dominance. I had 2 creatures on the board. Played Electro Dominance, killed the 3/3. Played a Clamor Shaman, gave it haste, attacked.
Yeah.
like you can't block. Hit you for 7 or something. Yeah, it was just like I don't know.
This is a card that's getting a lot of attention in older formats, specifically modern. A lot
Yeah.
of people are trying to find ways to break it, and it'll be interesting to see if it lives up to the hype.
I also like the flavor text. Basically, we turn a bunch of little lightnings into one big lightning. It's like, yeah. Also, it's instant. It doesn't have to be instant.
Yeah, that's messed up too, right?
Yeah.
I like how when I played it against Gavin, he's like, okay, so I take 2. I was like, no, it's any target. And he's
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah, it's like, no, I kill your creature.
Yeah.
Then I hit you for a bunch more.
Yeah. Also, I was super impressed by obviously the uncommon split card is like Collision
And Colossus.
Yeah.
Oof, yeah.
That's a good one.
Colossal Might's a good card still, it turns out.
It is that is just Colossal Might, right?
Yeah.
The
Plus 4/+2
plus 4/+2
6
and trample.
damage.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Collision was especially again against Gavin when he was
Against
just
Gavin.
like the Drake, whatever the Drake
1/4
is.
flyer or
No,
something?
the but
Colossal
he had,
Oh,
like,
the 3/3.
he had 3 of those,
Yeah.
the 3/3 flyers, and he was like 3/3 flyer, and you're like 6 damage. 3/3 flyer, cool, 6 damage. I was just like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
So that was pretty sweet.
That was a good one.
Was that your when you were talking about my Electro Dominancing my creature? That was sort of probably your top play.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Your deck was just
don't-
very efficient.
it's just, yeah, it's not a deck that lends itself to like, I did all these tricky plays and stuff like that. But I think like with any deck, like sequencing is important. And there was a lot of questions. Like there was a lot of situations with Electro Dominance. It was like, do I do this now and get a 2/2?
Yeah.
Or there was a situation too against Gavin where I could have done attacked, wait for the block, and then Electro Dominance for 1, and I had that 1 mana combat trick, Storm Surge.
Oh,
and I
yeah.
could have killed a 3/1 and then gave another creature first strike. And it's just like, I don't know. It's
Didn't
just
the-
good decision points like that?
Also, I don't know what the shorthand is for them, but the uncommon cycle that's like, I think in Gruel's case,
CCDD ones?
CCDD, is that what they're called?
CCDD, I think.
Yeah,
I don't even
so-
know what that means.
I heard that the Gruel one was
color.
quite good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
What?
C just means a colored mana symbol
Yeah, but why DD?
because it's 2 separate ones.
Oh.
Yeah. So red, green.
The Sunder Showmen.
Yeah.
I heard it was great.
Well, you managed
5/5
to.
or whatever?
Yeah, you managed
Yeah,
to.
the Sunder Shaman.
That was our preview card on Magic Mike's.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a strong card.
It's a good one.
You
I think it's
managed
it might be the best of the cycle. Do you think? Do you think it's better than the Azureus one?
I definitely think it's better than the Azureus one. The
It's
Azureus
better than the
one's
Orzhov one.
our
The
card.
Rakdos one's pretty good. The Rakdos one
What does
deals
the
2.
Rakdos one do?
It pings something for 2.
Anything?
Opponent for
I think
2,
so.
and then I
Any
think you
target.
can do like a creature.
Yeah, it's any target for 2. I think.
Well,
I can't remember what it's called.
But you managed to get Gavin's Dovin's Acuity with Sunder Showmen.
Yeah, like
Which is-
that. I think
that's helpful.
I think the second half is cute.
Yeah.
The first half is important.
Can't be blocked by more than one creature. It's just like,
and
hey,
the fact that it's a 5/5 for 4
Yeah.
is
except it's a 5/5. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah,
I
card's
did
really strong.
using just this year's portal on the Basilica Bellhaunt, which was the Orzhov one. That was cool, being able to instant speed, make them discard and gain 3 life.
Oh yeah, that
That was fun. That was a good little ETB effect.
Yeah, that was my deck. It was very assertive.
Sweet.
That's the word I would use to describe it.
And then also sick art on that on the Bellhaunt.
Yeah, I like
And then Marshall, of course, representing the Simic. Wait a minute.
Yeah, I wanted to go Simic, but I didn't like the way the storyline was going. So I decided to just leave them behind. And I decided to go for Azureus. And mainly my reasoning was
Doubt.
I wanted to draw a bunch of cards. Like, let's just be honest. And I knew that would give me the best chance to do it. It
Yeah.
also, of the ones available, matches the way I want to play, even though I actually prefer Simic like as a guild. Also, you know, I was willing to I would take what was given to me. I did end up being the first in line to choose, but I've said, look, if 2 people are like, I really wanted Azureus, here, done, I'll take whatever.
Yeah.
But it ended up being, well, something kind of interesting happened when we picked, because I picked Azureus and nobody else did except for Gavin, who's the only person who's actually played the set. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Internal fist pump.
yeah,
like,
I did it right. And so I ended up putting together kind of a mishmash because it was sealed. The way I see Azureus right now is there seems to be some very controlling kind of life gain, card draw type stuff. And then there also seems to be this flyer stack. And I kind of had a mishmash of both. My guess is that by the time we draft the set, that there may be a little bit more of a divide there on like, I'm on the more tempo, bounce your stuff, kill you with flyers, kind of the classic blue-white archetype.
Right.
And then a more controlling, like the Dovin's Acuity style deck like that.
In Guilds of Ravnica, I think the Izzet could sort of go 2 different directions.
Completely go 2 different directions.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whereas like Dimir and Boros were pretty firmly. Dimir was you didn't really have an aggro Dimir or a controlling Boros, but it could go either way. So
That's right.
You think Azureus is flexible?
I think Azureus might end up being like that because I definitely felt like some of the cards I was drawing were really going towards a more controlling long game style build, and then some of them were
which
like
makes sense flavorfully.
Yes, indeed. So anyway, my deck ended up being really sweet. Like I was super happy with it. It was well balanced and very powerful overall. A couple of the risks or whatever that I decided to take were two things. One of them, I played Gate Colossus in my deck.
Yes.
Now, this is a card that I hadn't seen until I opened it up, and I had a significant number of gates available to me that were on color, and I decided to run it as kind of a screw it, let's try it, you know?
Because you were doing the live deck building on stream, and chat was like, "Do it, do it."
Yeah, and
Do it, you coward.
as always, I bend to chat's will.
Yeah.
And so I played the Gate Colossus, and it was fantastic. Much better than it
love
looked.
the art.
Yeah, I played it for 5 mana multiple times, and it's just like, wow, you know, this thing is huge. And it really shortcuts this common thing that you see, because oftentimes when you become an experience limited player, you see huge stats like 8/8, right? And you're like, yeah, but I know how this goes, right?
Yeah.
It never actually hits my opponent ever, right? They just block it a bunch of times and then kill it with something. And you can't. The power 2 or less thing is very, very real.
Yeah.
It forces them to make a decision really quickly, and it's a good blocker when it's not.
Speaking as an Orzhov player, I would have to block this with a relevant creature.
Because all your creatures
I can't
are-
just chump it
yeah.
with as Rakdos. Aren't you just not able to block ever?
Yeah.
I mean, we're hoping not to block at all, ideally.
I guess the Roustabout
but
has 3 power. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's really tough. And then, you know, even if they do find themselves in a position where they're like, all right, fine, here's my 3 creatures to block, I hope this works, then it does work, and you go, okay, all your things die, my thing dies, and you go, play a gate, put it back on top of my library, your move. And they're just like,
Good living.
right, and it's like, it's not card advantage because you're putting it on top of your library, but like, that is the card you want to draw after your opponent just had to like sigh and put 3 creatures in front of it to not die. Yeah. And next turn you just replay it, and your opponent's like, okay, what
For even cheaper.
Yeah, definitely. And so, yeah, really good. And then the other big thing that I did was I splashed the Krasis, which I don't remember the first word of. But
Hydroid Krasis?
Hydroid Krasis. So, yeah, this is the X flyer
It's
with
bananas.
Flample and all this stuff. And
The size of that brain.
that thing's sweet. And I ended up having a pretty easy time with splashing it because my deck was controlling. It had a lot of life gain. And there's multiple times during just the 2 matches I played where I was above 40 life.
Yeah.
And so I had plenty of time to find my green sources, of which I had many.
2 Simic Guildgates and a breeding pool.
Yeah, maybe even 3, at least 2. Yeah. And so I was able to just set up a game state where I could just go here. And, you know, I cast it for 6. And in fact, probably of the many sweet plays that happened because of this deck was kind of set up for some cool stuff, is I was playing against Kathleen, and I had left up the bounce spell, the 2 and a blue bounce with addendum.
Right.
Yeah, and the actual reason I did
Like
this...
Arrester's something? Is
yeah,
that what it is?
Arrester's
something
Arrester's
like that.
Admonition.
Arrester's
Thank you,
Admonition. Nice. So I had Arrester's Admonition, and this was late in the game, and I had kept it up forever because she had Judith on the battlefield, and I wanted to prevent an all-out attack from Kathleen because I was ahead on board but not actually attacking her. And I was worried she would at some point go, I'm just going to attack you with everything, and I would go, I'm going to lose my whole board here. And I wanted to be able to bounce Judith after blocks and just eat all her creatures and be like, haha, I did it.
Right.
Instead, I drew the Hydroid Krasis, and I played it for X equals 6. I slam it on the battlefield. I draw 3 cards. I gain 3 life. I even hit her with it once. And then she draws her card, says go, comes back to me. I hit her once. I say go, and she draws her card, and she's asking her deck, like, please, come on, I need something here. And she finds a removal spell. She finds a legit, the 5 and a black.
So like send to the pit or whatever it
Get
is?
to the point?
No, the 5 and a
Consign
black
to the
one.
pit.
Consign to the pit?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh,
Like
wow,
on
I
Street
actually got what I wanted. And she targets it, and I'm like,
Oh, no.
all right, Arrester's Admonition, this thing. I bring it back to my hand, and then I did it again the next turn. But in an act of pure cowardice, I only did it for 6 the second time that game.
Only.
So that I could leave up the promo absorb that I got as well. And of course, I was chided by chat for being a coward, but I stand by my play on that
Did
one.
you counter something super relevant after that too?
No,
Was
I
it-
just won.
Oh.
In fact, I won with it in my
So
hand.
you won that game.
I just
then,
got to
yeah.
look at the shiny.
How did you like Absorb? Because a lot of the discussion that I've seen is from people who weren't around the first time, and the newer class are judging it a little differently than sort of the old school folks who were there the
Yeah,
first time
It's like
around.
more difficult cancel.
Well, it was
Yeah.
just like when you cast it, and I was like, "You gain 3 life."
Yeah,
Like,
that
I
was
just
great.
Like, That's
Yeah,
messed up.
he did. He was angry about it. I think it's going to be the older crowd that wins that argument. They like it more. The newer crowd's like, well, I care about 3 life. It matters
relevant.
a lot. Now, in limited, I actually am closer to what you said, Graham, where it's kind of awkward cancel.
Yeah.
But the upside matters. You know, there's a couple of guilds here that are looking to smash your face in, and 3 life is a lot. So, you know, in an Azureus deck, it's not that big of a cost, and you would rather have this than cancel. But it's not a bomb. I was happy to have it.
Yeah.
Especially in sealed.
The Azureus life gain is like super relevant, even playing against Gavin. Like I didn't get to play against Marshall's deck, but playing against Gavin.
Get to play against my deck, he says. It is an honor for me to smash you with an Azureus deck. I agree with you. It's
true, yeah.
Good point. Well said.
I've decided that this is a point in my life where I don't deserve that privilege.
Good for you. Good for you.
come to
You
terms
deserve
with
it.
that.
Yeah.
to know thyself.
But the life gain is like feels super relevant on all these cards
Yeah,
because
it does.
even the Sphinx's Decree, is it that one? The draw 2, gain 2 life. Against my deck, I was like, oh man, that messes up all my math. Like I was
Yeah.
thinking about like, okay, I can do this, and then he's under a lot of pressure, and then 2 life, it's just like, oh.
Yeah. And what's the Azureus split card called? Names are obviously
Warrant?
eluding me,
Deploy
but-
and something.
Yeah, that one.
That one's good. Yeah,
that life gain. That
the
is
3/4
deploy.
flyer.
right. Yeah. So the deploy end of that is completely race changing because you play it, you gain 4, 5, 6, 7 life, and you have 2 surprise blockers that you can completely wreck
In
combat.
case it's tricky to read, Depose, the front half is just 1 and an Azureus, tap a creature, draw a card, which is cool. Deploy is 2 blue, white. You make 2 Thopters, and then you gain a life for each creature you control, including those 2 Thopters you just made.
Yeah,
So.
and I'll say I had 2 of those in my deck, and the only time I cast Depose was when I had on board lethal because of it.
I had someone
that
tap
was
down my priest with that, where I was so excited to finally get her out in the summoning select. It's like tap her. Like,
Yeah,
The
no,
other-
I think you're going to be playing deploy like 80% of the time. On
When
this.
Gavin cast Deploy, he also had the Impassioned Orator, or the Soul,
Oh.
The
Soul
life
Mister, which
Soul Mister.
kept me in one of my games for a really long time. It's a 2/2. You gain life whenever a creature enters the battlefield. So he
Under your control.
Yeah. So he played the Deploy, gained 2 from the ETB triggers from the Thopters, and then gained
Yeah, that's
like 6 life or
that
something.
is a
It's
significant
ridiculous.
amount.
There's also that 3/4 flyer that you gain 2 life for each gate you control.
Yeah.
That card seems.
Again, I
In
think
the right
I had
deck.
6 gates in that deck plus a shock land, and I still that was part of the reason why I was able to get up to
Like
to
you
such a
gain
high
6
level.
life, and you put a 3/4 flyer on the board, and the Gruul deck's just like
Womp.
fiddlesticks.
I'm glad I came
I'm so
too.
mad. This sucks, man. It's
Yeah.
like
So
you
just to sort of to wrap up also, because I assume some people are going to be, most people will be watching this before their actual pre-release.
Yep.
In contrast to, I mean, this is the same as guilds, but in contrast to many other pre-releases where you're sort of like, you just see how the chips fall, the guild pack, the seeded guild pack, like really points you in a direction.
Yeah.
Like if
If
you're
you
like
don't play your guild,
then you have to have a real
almost for
compelling
sure's
reason.
sake, yeah.
Because I opened my guild pack last, and Marshall, you did the same on stream, and I was sort of opened up, and I was like, yeah, I guess I'm fairly Orzhov. I have a lot of white and not much black, but yeah, I can probably build something with this. And then you realize it's like, oh wait, I have 15 on-color cards here,
Yeah.
and I went through them, and I'm like, oh no, my deck is ludicrous. This is great.
Yeah, and I prefer that because I'm not the strongest limited player. So for me, I like to think of the guild packs as almost like bumper bowling, where it's like you have the rails and you have to try really, really hard to get a gutter ball. Like you're
great,
going to
yeah,
hit a
yeah.
pin or two. And so for me, it was very easy because I wasn't the strongest player. I could even build a deck with this, and that made me feel good.
Cool. So yeah, that's going to do it for this group of recap. But we have another of these videos with other folks who are also at the PPR, which will be coming out, which will be forthcoming also on the channel, amongst many other bits of little bonus content between now and the pre-release. So thank you so much for listening. Hope that you enjoyed watching the PPR, the replay of which is up on youtube.com/loadingreadylive. And hopefully you will enjoy your pre-release this coming weekend. The pre-release was brought to you by Wizards of the Coast, and thanks for watching.